All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Pennsylvania Preparedness. Appreciate everybody for stopping in this fine Sunday afternoon. I have a very special guest tonight again. I have East Tennessee Preparedness here with me today, live, and I'm going to pass it over to him here in just a hot second to let him introduce himself and his channel. Again, appreciate everybody for coming in. If you have any questions for either one of us today, put it in all caps, and if I'm able to, I'll get to it. I'll try to have either one of us cover it, and I'll throw it up here as we answer it. So I'm going to hand it over to East Tennessee Preparedness and let him introduce himself and his channel. Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. My channel name's East Tennessee Preparedness. I started my channel 5 or 6 years ago. I can't even remember. Take a few breaks every now and then. Started the channel because I really started getting interested in prepping. I used to watch Doomsday Preppers back in the day, and I thought it was ridiculous. I think that was on purpose. They made them try to look foolish and paranoid and stuff. So I started looking on YouTube for channels and found some prepping channels and listening to what people had to say, and that's what started me on my preparedness journey. And the main reason I started my channel was because of my kids. I would find them, you know how kids watch YouTubers playing video games, and they'd sit there and watch it for hours, and I'd go, "Don't you have the same video games?" And they'd go, "Yeah." And I'd say, "Wouldn't it be more fun to actually play the game yourself?" And they'd look at me like I was crazy, and I'd give them a hard time, and they said, "Well, you can't start a YouTube channel and do it." And I said, "I bet I can." So that's why I started the YouTube channel. Just to prove a point that if you're persistent and you stay after it, you can do it. Awesome. Which now I make videos mainly out of habit. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to people in the comments and stuff. And it's not like subscribers. It's like you're talking to an old friend, even though I hadn't met very many people off my channel in person, but it's still the same core group that comments all the time, that you sort of get to know them and how they're doing. And it's just kind of like an extended family situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's all these people in the community coming out. It's great to see everybody so far. So I think we're going to get right into some of the questions. I know I saw a few people stop in here. We got the Celtic Grandma. We got Winter Homestead, Shenanigans, Loretta Houch, Coffee First. I saw some other people up there. KP Heathen, of course, was one of the first people in saying, "Hey from Louisiana." Let's see, Teresa Buchanan. Let's see who else. Oh, we also had the Cold War Prepper stop in earlier, as well as Edith Wallace. So let's see.
Mary Miles stopped by. I see Mary in a lot of live streams all the time, so.
All right. We're going to start off with what would you say some of your strengths are as far as prepping and preparedness?
Well, I try to keep it basic. The first thing I think as a strength is water and water filtration. Although I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I have cases of water put away. I have a 275-gallon IBC tote out here filled up with water, and I could hook that up to the gutter system to collect rainwater in about 10 minutes. I have several different ways to purify water. Of course, everybody can boil water, but I have life straws, I have Benny Salyers, I have water purification tablets, and I have a Big Berkey. And I know Big Berkey's having some issues with the government, the FDA. For some reason, they're getting picked on. So I'm actually thinking about buying another gravity water filter, maybe the Alexa Pure, or maybe just making a couple myself out of buckets and buying the filters. But I think water purification is going to be key, because if something really bad happened and people couldn't get clean drinking water, that will cause a lot of problems. And the second thing you should have in store and on hand is food. Beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. So I have, I think, For me and my kids, I think we have between 9 months and a year's worth of food put up in this little house I'm renting, and I add to it every time I go to the store. It isn't always fun, but yeah, in this economy, you have to really look for deals. So um, I go 3 or 4 stores a week trying to find deals. And the third thing I think a man needs to have is a way to defend what you have. And I've pretty well covered on that. I don't get as much practice as I would like to because the freedom seeds are really expensive, but I do go shooting 3 or 4 times a year. I'm still pretty good with a long rifle, but not real good with the pistol, and I need to correct that. And what would be the fourth tenet is medical, and that's my weakness. I have medical supplies, but I need training on how to use some of that stuff.
I gotcha. Yeah, we can all use more practice. Even me, I can use more medical practice, even though I was an EMT for 6 years. So I get that. Um, let's see. What would you say one of the things that you're actively improving on would be?
Um, Communications. I have a buddy that's a licensed ham radio operator, and I have some, Baofangs, and I'm looking at getting a shortwave radio in the future as soon as I can afford it, and maybe getting him to help me set it up. He's really smart on that stuff. With the Baofangs, he actually programmed mine for me, and we were at work one night and went out in the parking lot, and he actually bounced the signal off a little Baofang off the International Space Station. So
Wow.
he's pretty sharp on that stuff. And
Yes.
like I say, medical training is another weakness. But there's a guy I used to work with that was an EMT where I work. He had to retire, and he's offered to teach a first aid trauma class for us. And I'm working out the details with him on that.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah. I feel like that seems to be the biggest one, especially after the cell outage the other week. Is a lot of people are looking into improving their communication networks for sure. Let's see. What would you say that one of your most proud parts of prepping is? Like, what are you most proud of doing, or what's something that you take a lot of pride in as far as your preps go?
Well, really, just the general preps I have, because it's sort of like everybody has insurance. You have health insurance, you have life insurance, you have car insurance, homeowners insurance. And this is just another way that I can feel secure that if something does come down the road that's unexpected, then at least me and my kids aren't going to be in the same boat of running around like our hair was on fire trying to see what we were going to do. That's what the key impetus for me was to start prepping was my kids. And I feel sleep better at night knowing that if something does happen that they're not going to be suffering at least immediately.
Right.
So the food, the water, the the self defense, the medical stuff I have is all for them. And I actually let them go with me and do some of the practice stuff. And I'm going to take my 2 oldest kids, whether they want to or not. They're going to go to the first aid class because they can't depend on their old dad all the time. They're going to be a little self sufficient.
Right. Yeah, self sufficiency really is the key with all of it. I know obviously your name is East Tennessee Preparedness here on YouTube, but is there a more generalized location or county or part of Tennessee that you are
Uh,
in?
I am in the upper northeast corner of Tennessee. If you watch NASCAR racing, you know where the racetrack is in Bristol, and I'm in that area in the Tri Cities. I can be in North Carolina in 45 minutes, Virginia in 30, and Kentucky in about an hour. So we're right in that little corner.
Very nice. Okay. What specifically are you preparing for? Like, what do you think the most likely thing is that your preps are geared towards that will occur?
Uh, the, that's a good question. The thing that scares me the most is cyber attack or an EMP attack that will take down the grid, which is why I have a gas generator is fine. I have one at my house, at my ex's place, and I have solar generators here to try to keep what food I have fresh, but that scares me to death more than anything because I've read all the 1 Second After books, and civil unrest is another one because we all saw how crazy the world got the last presidential election, and I think that was just a tune-up for this year. So that's why the self-defense is pretty important, I think, because people, if that happens, people are going to go crazy. But if something happened where you couldn't go to the store and get food, I think we're 72 hours away from anarchy. People miss 9 meals and they're going to go nuts. You're going to see parents out doing anything they can do to feed their kids. And it'd be a sad situation, but everybody's had the same opportunities we had to get ready for such foolishness.
Very true. I know here in Pennsylvania, one of the most likely disasters we would face is either flooding or typically winter storms, high wind storms, stuff like that. What kind of disasters or naturally occurring disasters do you guys typically have in Eastern Tennessee?
Well, we have some snowstorms. We had one a few years ago where the power was out a few days, but we're not equipped down here and down south to deal with the conditions that you guys are for. We don't have the equipment, so that's why I have backup heating, the Mr. Buddies and stuff like that. And because when you go without power for 3 days in the wintertime, it can be a challenge to keep your family warm. And we
Right.
also have bad thunderstorms in the spring and summer. We don't have to worry about tornadoes quite as much because the mountains around here keep us a little bit shielded from that. But there is flooding issues, and that's pretty much it. I don't think we're on any big fault lines where we have to worry about earthquakes. So we're pretty lucky in that sense that we don't have to worry that much about tornadoes, hurricanes, but we do worry about winter storms and bad thunderstorms knocking out power for days.
Right. Yeah, I got you. Uh, Here in Pennsylvania, we have the Appalachian Mountains that run just north of where I am. So I know
Yeah.
that they run out towards you guys as well. So I get
Oh
the
yeah, we're right in the middle of them. You can hike the Appalachian Trail from here and get on it in 15, 20 minutes in some spots.
yep, that's where I'm at. Luckily, I'm just about 20 minutes from the Appalachian Trail. It's awesome. Let's see. Um, what would you say that the event or timing was that got you started in the preparedness? Was it any specific event, or was it just a tumultuous time in your past?
A tumultuous time, I guess. Maybe I watched too many apocalyptic movies, but I started having weird dreams about people coming down the street with bad intentions. But looking back, I think it was Hurricane Katrina that put it in the back of my mind. All those people in the Superdome and all the stuff that happened where it took them days to get people water to even have something to drink. The violence that happened in there, and I got to realizing that Ronald Reagan was right. The scariest thing you'll ever hear is, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." The government isn't coming to save you. You need to be able to at least make an attempt to save yourself.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was just weird dreams where I'd watched a bunch of apocalyptic movies, but I started having some strange dreams about it. And I started watching Doomsday Preppers, and I thought that was kind of silly. And then I started YouTube and prepping channels.
Right. Yeah, it is a shame that that's it seems like they intentionally did that, like you said. They made like they're watching the show. I noticed that there were a couple people that had some great ideas, and
Mhm.
even if they had good ideas, some of them they still tried to make them seem like they were, a little out there, even if they had some sound reasons for why they were prepping. But I get that completely. let's see. Well, we already covered what your worst case scenario was, so I don't got to ask you that again. Well, you answered that for me. You said about the cyber attacks and grid down. Um, so, what would you say some of your goals are for yourself and prepping, and specifically your channel?
For the channel, I really don't have any goals. I started it just to prove a point to my kids. I'm happy to make videos. I hope people get a little something out of it. But my goal was to get people maybe that I knew into prepping. And I have 3 or 4 buddies that have actually started putting food and water and stuff like that back. So if I could get the more people you can convert to becoming a prepper, the less people you're going to have to worry about when we start needing our preps. But personal goals is to, I need to get in a little better shape. I'm going to be 59 this year, and I've started doing some lightweight work, push-ups. I'm too old to run anymore. My knees won't tolerate that, but walking every day at least 30 to 45 minutes, incorporating push-ups and core exercises into it, because if we ever faced a true SHTF, you're going to need to be in a little better physical shape, because you're going to be doing a whole lot more physical work. And of course, getting my comms and medical training up to snuff.
I got you. There's always stuff we can improve on, that's for sure. So, what would you say? What would your end goal be as far as your preps? Like, do you have a specific goal you're reaching for as far as like generators? I know you already said you have those. Would
I'd
you
like
like?
to have some more solar generators and panels. I have the Delta EcoFlow, and I have 2 panels I can hook up to it, but I would like to be more self-sufficient on that, and I need to buy another smaller gas generator for myself. That way, if you're on a bad weather streak, you can charge up your solar generators with a gas generator. But I think solar generators would be important in a true, bad situation, because people hear gas generators for a while, especially if everything was real quiet, and solar generators are a little more stealthy.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get a couple of smaller ones for like laptops, phones, and use my bigger ones for the refrigerator and freezers.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. What is your favorite part of preparedness in the prepping community?
I like I don't do many live streams because they kind of make me anxious, but I don't mind doing them once I get started. It's sort of like a dread, but I enjoy conversing with people in the chat. It's sort of like meeting old friends and talking to them. That's why I jump into as many live streams as I can usually, with when I can, because of my work schedule and the kids. But that's always fun, and I just enjoy talking with people that have the same sense of wanting to be prepared for bad situations for themselves and their family. It's encouraging to know that there are more than just a few of us out there. There are a lot of people getting into prepping, and a lot of people have been doing this for a long time. And I actually learned stuff from people in the chats, because as a prepper, I'm kind of a newcomer, 5 or 6 years, so I learn a lot from the people in the chats.
Very true. It's nice to have all this wealth of knowledge from all over the world, all over the country. That's for sure. What would you say one of the things that you have had to start doing because of prepping that you actually enjoy to do?
Mm. Well, to have money to prep in this economy, I've had to stop eating out at restaurants I like quite a bit, because everything's so expensive that if you're going to, keep going down the preparedness road and have money to buy the stuff that you think you need, you're going to have to cut back in other areas. And I'm not exactly a gourmet cook, so I get tired of my own cooking. There's a few things I can cook pretty good, but so I am improving my culinary skills because of prepping. and I need to practice the cooking on cast iron and over a fire. So the boys and I, in June, I think I'm gonna take some vacation, and we're gonna go camping, and we're gonna camp over fires with cook stoves and just actually practice what we would do if something bad happened.
Very nice. All right. What would you say your least favorite part of prepping is? Like for me, one of the things that I hate to do, but I know it's important and I have to do it is rotating out foods. It's sort of nice because, I get to find some ravioli or something and that I like to eat, so I'll bring that upstairs and eat it, but I absolutely hate having to make sure that I'm always rotating stuff out and stuff like that. So what would you say one of your least favorite parts of prepping is?
Well, that would be one of them, and just finding places to put everything. I don't like rotating food either. Uh, I probably need to go through and get rid of some stuff because I procrastinate that task quite a bit. So, and doing the same thing repetitively, like buying 20 pounds of rice, putting it away, stacking it away, and then labeling what everything is. I put a lot of my stuff in totes because I think they would be easy to move. I do have some 5-gallon buckets, but I can get 20 pounds of rice in a bucket, but I can get 40 to 50 pounds in a tote. So I use plastic totes.
Gotcha.
So keeping up with where everything's at and like you say, rotating food. I am horrible at that. I admit it. So maybe you bringing that point up, it'll make me do a little better this year on rotating my food stores.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wrote down that I wanted to improve on this year because I I I was keeping everything on a notes section in my phone, and it wasn't really doing the trick. And I was just like, this is such a pain. I absolutely hate to do it, but it's so important. And I'm like, I don't want to have some SHTF situation kick off and me go to eat the first can of beans or ravioli I find and get sick from it. So
Yeah.
it's like it's necessary, but it's not fun.
And organization isn't very fun either. Trying to keep stuff where you know what's in everything you have, where it's at. Because if you're in a panic trying to find something when you're needing it, that's not going to be good. So I try to keep notes, and I have a notebook trying to keep up with where everything I have is located. And I'm bad to make that list, and then when I actually move something, I'm bad not to go and correct it in my notebook.
No, I get that. I'm actually the exact same way. All right. What would you say that your favorite item for preparing overall?
My favorite items are my self defense tools. They're just fun to get out and play with when I get the opportunity. And they're funner to practice with. It's a lot more fun to send some freedom seeds downrange than it is to rotate food, um, vacuum seal 20 to 50 pounds of rice or beans. That's monotonous, but it's necessary. But when you do that, it's a little more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always nice to have a little bit of range therapy. I totally get that. Even just the smell is a little soothing. All right. What would you say your least favorite item as far as preparedness goes is?
Hmm, that's a good one. Maybe my medical supplies. It's just boring to look through them. I know they're necessary, but and you buy hydrogen peroxide and isopropyl alcohol and stuff, and if you don't use it, you know it's not going to be any good. So I forget and buy some, and I already have some because my organization isn't up to date. So that's aggravating to me. Is doing stuff that ends up being wasteful and not necessary. But all in all, I enjoy most aspects of prepping. It's just the organization stuff that gives me a challenge.
I get that totally. All right. All right. This one's a pretty fun question. I've been asking it, and I always think it's kind of fun to ask. If there was a prepping genie, and you had three prepping related wishes, what would those three be and why?
Uh, Probably 50 acres in the middle of nowhere with a cabin. Uh, to maybe have a complete solar and off-grid setup. I would like to be independent of the system more than I am today. And also to maybe, I'm not a socialist or a communist, but maybe get a better group than what I have now. You know, uh, a better group of preppers to work together to strive and have a place where we can all go if something bad happens to meet up there and sort of work together. I have a loose group, but we really have no organizational structure where we would meet or anything like that. So that's another weakness of mine is whether you want to call it a tribe or a mag, or whatever people call it, I'm pretty weak in that area.
Yeah, that's something I've actually been trying to work on with my area. Is I'm trying to make a mag, and I'm trying to get people all from over my area to come together. So
Mhm.
it's hard to do.
It is. I have some family across the state line, and that's where I would probably end up going because they still live uh, where they grow a lot of their own food. They have farm animals, and they're preppers and don't really know they're preppers. They can and grow their own food. They have plenty of self-defense toys, hunting, fishing. So they're preppers. They just don't know the term prepper, which is sort of how I grew up, is doing the same things. But I got domesticated, unfortunately, as I got older.
Hmm. I got you there. Um, Looks like we're about halfway through so far. So if anybody has any questions for myself or East Tennessee Preparedness, be sure to make sure that you put it up there in all caps so we don't miss it, anything like that. Let me see. I know F Pier's been doing a good job throwing out your link first of all, and
I appreciate that.
a few other people. Um, she actually says that that's part of she likes the organization because it's proof of her stash. So kudos to her. I that's still not my favorite part, but I get where she's coming from as far as making sure that you have everything. Also, everybody make sure that you head over to East Tennessee Preparedness and you give a like to his channel or like this video, share it out, and then head over to his channel, subscribe to him, and myself if you don't mind. I don't mind the extra subscriptions. Um, we appreciate everything and everybody for being out here today so far. Let's see. Oh, Coffee First asked if FPR could help her organize. That's funny. Yeah, maybe FPR could help us all organize a little bit.
What is that website? People used to talk about it where you could pay a couple of bucks a month and put what you have in, and it would tell you how much you have and for how long. Was it Prep or something? Had like a spreadsheet, and you could type in everything that you had, like food, water, and how many kids or people you had would be using it. People used to talk about it in live streams and stuff all the time, and I cannot remember the name of that. Oh well.
Yeah. Oh.
My brain is fried. Not enough coffee yet.
Yeah, I get that. Well, I drink energy drinks. Unfortunately, that's one of my big vices. Got to try to get away from that again. All right. What is your favorite prepper type food?
Uh, hmm. Well, for me and the kids, I don't like Spam, but I don't know if y'all have it up north. Treat meat. They would prefer treat meat with eggs over bacon and eggs.
Hmm.
So I have a ton of treat meat. It's same kind of container Spam comes in. It's just a different texture, and I like it a lot. I'll fry it instead of for sandwiches all the time. So I keep that. That's one thing I do rotate through pretty quick because we eat it a lot.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of that. That's pretty interesting. If I
Yeah,
ever
it's
make
like
it back, I'll have to try and find
I'll send you a couple of cans.
it. I'm still working on the Spam I have, so we'll see. What would you say that your least favorite prepping food is?
Uh, Probably the Chef Boyardee stuff, like spaghetti and meatballs, raviolis. I ate it so much as when I was a kid that I can eat it now, but I'm not a fan. And soup. I used to eat soup all the time when I'd take my lunch to work, and I just burnt myself out on like Campbell's chunky soup. I can eat it, but it's not a favorite.
All right, yeah, that's fair. I guess it's funny because I'm the opposite. I love the Chef Boyardee and the ravioli stuff like that, just because it's so quick and easy and it's already like you could eat it cold if you wanted to, but not too
Mhm.
tasty cold. But
Oh, I
okay,
can eat it still, but I just got burnt out on it years and years ago.
yeah, no, I get that. If you eat something too much, you can definitely get yourself turned off from it. All right. What do you think the coolest thing that you've learned so far in your prepping journey has been? Any specific piece of information or any tool that you learned how to use or anything like that?
The radios. I never was a big radio guy, and I'm still not very good with them. But it's interesting to get on there and get see what you can pick up from like the emergency channels. I never was. My some of the older people I grew up with had the police scanners, and they would sit there for hours just listening to it, and I'm going, I don't get it. But now it's kind of interesting to do that, and maybe I'd like to eventually get a ham set up where you could talk to people and get information from all over the world, not have to rely on what somebody else tells you.
Right.
Well, you're still
Yeah.
relying on what somebody else tells you, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's better to have somebody specific you're talking to instead of a large
Talking head
media.
on TV.
Yeah. Somebody that has some sort of an agenda. It seems like when they're talking to a mass of people, there's always an agenda behind it, it seems like. All right. If you could give one message that not just everybody in the preparedness community, but everybody overall in general, like the whole population of Earth, what would that one message be?
That everybody 100 years ago, like I say about some of my family still, was a prepper. We're not a fringe group, and it ain't gonna hurt you. It's just another way to make sure yourself and your family is secure when bad times hit. It's just another form of insurance. And when you need it and you think you're going to go out and get it, you're going to be in for a rude awakening because it's not going to be available. Uh, the grocery stores have a 3-day supply of food for regular business. When an emergency hits, they're going to be wiped out quick. Everybody remembers the great toilet paper shortage of 2020. Well, when that's food and stuff, and you're hungry and your kids are hungry, it's going to be too late.
Yeah, very fair. Yeah, that's a good message to get out there. I feel like most people do lack that understanding that back in the day, it used to be you have to be ready because that's just the way things were. You didn't have Amazon that could deliver whatever items you needed in 2 or 3
Mhm.
days, something like that. Um, Also,
Yeah,
it's a
we.
general.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you go ahead.
I said when I was a kid, and I didn't enjoy it, but we had a garden at my grandparents' farm, then we worked over an acre just for like beans and corn and tomatoes and cucumbers. And it was a pain in the hind end when you were 10 years old down there working in the garden all day. But now you realize they did it not because they enjoyed it, which they didn't mind it, but they just like to eat. That's the way they survived. Had root cellars, cows, chickens. So
Right. Yeah, nowadays everybody thinks the idea of prepping is, going to the store and, buying just Chef Boyardee or canned foods, and that's their idea of prepping, having enough food ready for like a couple days. But most of us all know that that's not exactly it. It's more about self-sufficiency and long-term
mhm.
sufficiency.
And before my ex and I split up, uh, I'm living in the city limits, and I actually had 10 hens and a rooster in my backyard. So I wish I still had that, but I will again eventually. Now, I'm not very good. People think that it's easy just to go out and throw some seeds in the ground and grow your own food. It ain't quite that easy. So now's the time to learn what you can grow in your area, what grows well and what doesn't. Because if you're dependent on that to survive and you haven't practiced it, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening.
Very true. Yeah, that's one of the things I first learned when I first started gardening was they say about just, making sure that you weed everything, put stuff in at certain intervals. And one of the things that I found out is I am an expert at growing weeds. I can grow weeds like nobody else.
Yeah, and
But
and also learning to preserve the foods you grow, like canning. I mean, I didn't know how to can. My mom and grandma wouldn't let us anywhere near the canning operation, so I had to learn that as an adult. And so that's always good to have a way to preserve your food. Be sure you know how to operate a pressure canner
yeah,
and have a good supply of canning jars and lids and seals. I think that's an often overlooked prep or skill.
yeah, that's definitely something. One of the things I have to get better in. I was never taught how to can or anything like that, or um, pressure can any of that. That's something that completely is out of my grasp until I sit down and try to figure it out. So that'll be one of the things I'm going to try to learn this summer. So we'll see if I come on a couple lives with sauce in my hair, or not really hair on my head, I should.
Yeah, I was actually canning. I bought off the guy about 20 pounds of fresh sausage him and his dad had processed, and I actually exploded a can and it went all over the ceiling. It took me a week to clean that mess up. My
Oh
ex
yeah,
wasn't very happy when she came home that day. I had sausage grease on the ceiling of the kitchen, over on the stove, in the floor, and I'd been working on it for a couple hours trying to clean it up. So it's not quite as easy as you'd think it would be either.
oh
I'm
yeah.
just glad I wasn't standing right in front of the can or the jar when it exploded.
So yeah, I'm
We're
I'm a
like,
little. I got
oh, you
two.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I have two wireless floor cleaners upstairs. Unfortunately, they leave more hair behind than anything, but they help me clean the messes off the floor.
I have one, and I'm surprised she's not in here. She must have gave up that she wasn't getting nothing to eat. So I was trying to
So,
look through the comments.
yeah, so F. Pierre said canning is a way to save money and prepare. That's very true, and it's a good skill to have too. Let's see. I'm not sure if I missed any of my questions on here. I don't believe I did so far. Hmm. Are there any prepping related books? I know that you touched on one of the series. Is there any prepping related books that you would recommend to people?
Um, I have the what is it? The Medicine and Survival Guide. I can't remember the exact name of it. And I also have the I don't know if you've ever heard of the Foxfire books,
I've heard of it, yeah.
where they show they went out and interviewed people in the Appalachians in the '60s about how to do all the things that they could do for themselves because they knew that generation was going away, and they tried to document all the knowledge that they had been passed down from their parents and grandparents. And that's pretty interesting read. It's got a lot of stuff about how to preserve food, canning, just building stuff the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, that's interesting because you also see a big difference in the preparedness mindset compared to, like, I only live an hour away from Philadelphia. So the further, or closer, I should say, the closer you get towards Philadelphia, you run into a lot more people who obviously have grown up in the city and they are so used to just going right down the street to a local store, grabbing whatever they need and getting that instant gratification of items, compared to closer to the mountains, where you have people that have to either travel further to get their food or supplies. So you run into people who also go out camping, stuff like that. So you find that the difference in the prepping mentality changes as you move away from the cities and stuff like that. So I'm sure you notice that being in Tennessee too.
Yeah, we don't have anything as big as Philadelphia, but I'm pretty close to Knoxville, and if something bad ever happened down there, I'm sure that would be a total poop show. And this city where I'm in now is too big for my liking. I would like to get out of here and get in the country. So I'm working on that. That's one of my goals this year too, or the next couple of years, is to get out of the built up areas. Even if it's on 2 or 3 acres, it would be better than where I'm at now.
Right. Is there any specific, are you still planning on staying in Tennessee?
If I can, but the housing, the prices here are just ridiculous right now. So I may have to move back to my home state. I'm originally from Virginia, and as we like to call it, the communist state.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, Pennsylvania is pretty, there we go. Just had to plug my phone in. Pennsylvania is pretty good up here. I don't know if you ever considered it, but not exactly a bad state to live in.
Well, I'm getting a little old to switch jobs again, and I'm probably going to stay within try to stay within 30, 40 minutes of my kids. Because I'll be 59 this year, and I have my youngest is in 3rd grade, so I was a late bloomer when it came to starting a family.
I gotcha. I know F. Peer said about how Pennsylvania is also its own microcosm. So we're definitely different here in Pennsylvania as far as compared to just north of us. We have New York's, New York State. And I know, I'm sure you probably heard some of the people call it New Yorkistan in some of their live streams, stuff like that. So it's definitely interesting being surrounded by a couple states. I actually have a really good buddy who came from New York. I think he lived in Staten Island. And I have some friends that came from New Jersey, stuff like that. And when I talk to them about preparedness, they just give me this look like, what are you talking about? What do you mean getting ready? What do you mean you have to have food on hand? I was like, yeah, for when something happens. And you just see it in their face. They have no idea what you're talking about. It's kind of funny.
Just like you're talking, they look at you like you're from Mars or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's or like you have a third eye or something like that for sure. All right. Well, it looks like that wraps up my questions. So I figure if anybody in the chat has any questions to ask us, feel free to do so. Make sure that you put them in all caps so we can see, and I can make sure to get to them. I don't think I missed any questions so far. Did you see any questions pop in that I might have missed?
No, sir. I'm going back and scrolling through. I don't see any so far.
F. Pierce said, "Come on up, Tennessee. We would love to have you here in Pennsylvania." F. Pierce actually, I'm not going to give away their location, but we've talked and we're not too far from each other, close enough that I could probably reach out and meet one day. So it's kind of funny. It's weird having all these people from all over the country, and then you find some that are right in your backyard.
Yeah, I went to a Tennessee college football game this year, and one of my subscribers actually came over and talked to me. So me and him talk a little bit nowadays. And there's a couple of people that I see in my channel all the time, and we talk on the phone. So that's always nice to make good contacts. And if anybody wants to, they can email me. I answer. I try to answer all the comments on my channel, although YouTube's been hiding some here lately. And I also answer emails. So up here, I would come up to Pennsylvania, but y'all talk funny.
Looks like FPR did throw out a question here. She says, Tennessee, how has prepping changed as you have aged? And what if differently?
FPR, as I've aged, I have learned that I have to pace myself a little more. About when I was still married, I built 14 garden beds and manually shoveled and wheelbarrowed 4 tons of compost into it in a weekend. And if I had to do that now, it would take me several days because as you get older, you have to learn your limitations and slow down just a tad, or you're going to end up hurting yourself. So my expectations on what I can do physically have changed.
Have you ever thought of getting what's it called? I've looked into it, like one of the gas-powered tillers or anything like that.
I have one that just quit on me, and I bought it for when we moved to that house. And then I was tilling up a garden area, and that's when I found out if you dug down about 4 inches and got out of the dirt, you hit red clay mud. So that's when I decided to start doing the raised bed gardening and the straw bale gardening. So if I do have an option where my, what does everybody calls it, bug out location would be, that to do regular gardening up there. It's actually on my cousin's farm. He has about 20 or 30 acres in Virginia. So he's almost 80, and he puts out a tremendous garden every year because he enjoys it.
That's awesome. It's always good to have a big, fertile bug out location plan. That's awesome that you have that as a backup for sure.
But the first option is always for me, it would be to bug in and try to hunker down, because if, say, we did get hit with the EMP, the first month you wouldn't want to hardly stick your head out the door because people would be going crazy. And then after that, you would try to maybe move along. But the first month would be to stay where I'm at. And
right.
Speaking of the guy I talked to at the UT game, he just popped in the chat. Hey, James Price.
There we go. I'll put them up there for you. All right. Anybody else have any more questions or anything that they want to ask either myself or East Tennessee Preparedness? If so, again, make sure that you guys put it up there in all caps so we can see it. Also, make sure that you head over to East Tennessee Preparedness. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel, and make sure that you guys also like this live stream as well as share it out if you wouldn't mind. Everything that any subscribers or followers do is a great help to either of our channels, and we both appreciate it greatly. See. Got anything planned for the upcoming week as far as preparedness? You got any plans for like a prepper haul or anything like that coming up?
No, I've got 3 days off this week. I'm supposed to be off Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday's a wash because I'm coming off night shifts. And then I have to turn right around and do a short change and work day shift on Wednesday. So Thursday, I'll probably be wondering what day it is and what planet I'm on, trying to recover. But my next prepper haul will probably be next payday. This payday was a little light because I took some vacation. So next payday, I'm going to have 3 or 4 shifts of overtime. So that's when I usually stock up. Although I did add some stuff for my self-defense tools here lately.
Very nice.
Some optics, some sights, and some accessories. So
The other type of precious metal, brass and lead, right?
yeah, it's always good to stock up in that. And funny story, actually, I was getting a haircut at my barber shop a couple of months ago. He started talking about EMPs and cyber attacks, and I turned around the chair and said, "Are you a prepper?" And he said, "Yeah." So we started talking, and he actually turned me on to a local place here in town that actually has pretty big setup of reloading freedom seeds. And he said he picked up 1,000 rounds for around $300.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I didn't even know the place exists. I can drive to it in 5 minutes, and I had no idea it was there. So I'm going to check them out one day next week.
Very nice. It looks like Cold War Prepper threw a question up here for us. He asks, has urgency caused you to reprioritize today over what you did this time last year?
Yes, because seeing how weak I was when I did my last inventory, which was last year, that I am very weak on medical training and equipment. I have prioritized my medical stash for this year. I have bought some of Bear Independence. I don't know if you watch him. His IFAKs. I've added. Me and a buddy started making our own IFAKs to sell and to keep. And I've added stuff like surgical staplers, tourniquets, all kinds of Israeli bandages, chest seals. Now I just need the training on how to apply those.
I gotcha. F. Pure asks, what is your biggest prepping regret?
That I wasted a lot of my energy on when I first started prepping on the expensive stuff, and I really didn't research it. I had to throw about 100 pounds of rice and beans away because I didn't do it correctly when I first started putting it up for storage. I jumped in with both feet before I saw how deep the water was.
Let's see. I know somebody, looks like your buddy James Price said about Palmetto State Armory offering some pretty good deals on ammo as well.
They do, James. I just picked some up, and also another site I like is 2A Warehouse. So they're sort of my 2 favorite sites for the dispensers and the freedom seeds.
All right. It looks like we're winding down here, coming close to about maybe 7 minutes left in the chat. So if anybody has any last minute questions, make sure that you start typing them now, put them in here. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover today?
No, I think we've done you've asked me some good questions. I've had to actually use my brain today. I'm starting to get a headache. When I use my brain too much, it hurts.
I get that. Let's see. Doesn't look like a question. Looks like KP Heathen said the Red Cross and let me look at this better. Red Cross and volunteer fire departments offer training free, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they do. The Red Cross especially, you can find lots of videos online. They can you can actually get a lot of certifications on stuff other than CPR and AED through the Red Cross, and they have a lot of helpful videos as well as the local fire departments. You can check with them, and they can even set up classes if you have enough people.
You know, I never really thought about the Red Cross doing it. Thanks, KP. But hopefully, the guy I used to work with is we're going to have a little class in the spring for that stuff.
Yeah, I know. I was talking with somebody. They were saying that if you can get, I think it's at least like 10 people together. Typically, the Red Cross will have somebody come out, and you can do a class together. And the more people you get, I think it's cheaper every time. Some of the classes I'll actually just have somebody come out for free, but that's something you got to check with your local chapter of Red Cross or whoever it might be. I'm very lucky. I have the state capital not too far from me, so a lot of stuff happens in this area. So I can hop on almost any training I want to. It's pretty neat.
And you were asking about weaknesses, and it just occurred to me when I was in the Army in boot camp, you know, they taught you how to use a compass and maps and orienteering and stuff. And I could do that now if my life depended on it. So that's something I need to check into. Is getting some maps and a good compass and figuring out how to navigate. Because if something bad happens, you're not going to be able to rely on your GPS for sure. So that just occurred to me. I don't know why that popped in my brain, but it did.
Yeah, somebody else said that a lot of people's employment will pay for some jobs as well. I'm sure with your job, I'm sure you probably have some hazmat training.
We
I'm
do,
sure.
and they offered us a CPR class last year, and I went to that as a refresher.
Yeah, and all that stuff. It all helps. One of the things I learned from my hazmat class, it was sort of a joke, but it gives you some real life uh, thoughts on it, is the thumb rule. You take your thumb and you put it up and you try to cover whatever the spill is or whatever's leaking. And if you can see any part of it from around your thumb, you're probably too close. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. So basically, get as far as away from whatever it is as you can if you don't have anything to protect yourself.
Yeah, and we get gas mask training every year where I work because we have a lot of dangerous chemicals that will are not very forgiving if you're exposed to them where I work.
Yeah, I believe it. All right. It looks like we're wrapping up here. I don't see any more questions popping in. Let's see. Yeah, I think it was F Pure that said about your local job might be able to provide training. So that's good insight. Um, all right. Yeah, if nobody else has anything in the comments, I think we're gonna start wrapping it up here. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything before we do that. I don't want to cut out before anybody has a chance to ask anything. Looks like a couple people are just talking about some more classes. So that's good. That's good that people are let me see. Oh, Coffee First said they had a Stop the Bleed class offered through their work. It was a great start. They said that they would need more than that. That makes sense. Yeah, it is a good introduction for sure to especially if you can get first aid training, even if it's basic, that's good to get you started into things. So yeah, it looks like I don't have any more questions popping up. So I think we're gonna do the outro here. Thank you everybody for stopping in today. I appreciate you coming to my channel
I
and see
enjoyed it.
what's up.
I said I enjoyed it. Sorry.
No, you're good. Appreciate you coming and stopping by my channel and doing this interview. I appreciate everybody in the comments. Make sure that you guys hit the like button before you leave. Also, head over to East Tennessee Preparedness. Give his channel a subscription. And I'm going to leave it over here to East Tennessee Preparedness to do his outro, and then we'll be done.
I appreciate Pennsylvania Preparedness for inviting me to do this. I sort of dread doing live streams till I get into it, and then they're kind of enjoyable. So I think it's a anxiety disorder I have. But it was fun, and I learned some stuff. It was good seeing some of my friends in chat, and I enjoyed it. And I hope y'all have a blessed day and a great week ahead.
All right, everybody. See you next time.